I'm back with Denice again because I got some questions. I went through some of the information of stuff that we've talked about. And then you and I had that big chat like yesterday where there was whole big chunks of stuff kind of coming up. And then I had a huge discussion with Nick. And like I said to you, unfortunately, it's one of those things where everything flows. And then when you go to try and sit down and repeat like everything that you just kind of got, you can't. It's almost like it disappears. Like you can't re-articulate the specific points that were so, and then they're like fucking gone. It's like melting snow. It's just like,
right, flipping in and out. Right.
I hate that. I really fucking hate that. So I need to clarify something with Stan. Because I keep coming back to language, right? Like we all have, language is one of the biggest downfalls because we've preconceived definitions of what certain words mean.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And in our first couple of conversations, we talked about things like timelines, dimensions, the various spheres, to use Stan's vernacular, right? Spheres.
Right.
And we talked about things like fractals. And we talked about our consciousness in other spheres, et cetera, et cetera. And there's been a few questions, like people have asked questions because it becomes to the point, like I said, language. So I wanted to put a question to Stan,
sure,
just to really try to clarify this. This Earth sphere, and I'm not going to say actually Earth sphere, I'm going to say this Earth, this planet, because I think I need to use that to really define exactly what I'm speaking of. This planet, construct, whatever you want to call it. We have, I suspect, multiple parallel dimensions that are exact replicas of our Earth. Now, this has been hypothesized tons and tons of times. And whether you want to call it fractured timelines, i.e. Something happens in one and something is changed and therefore you end up with two parallel dimensions, parallel Earths, but they're exact replicas ever so slightly off. And of course, that's where we get into when we talk about Mandela effect type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Can I jump in real quick? Because he's clarifying that as you're talking. Okay. Or just adding something to this.
Oh, I better I guess I should pull up the chat so I can actually see. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Hi, Stan, by the way. Okay. Okay, so he says, Danny, we refer to these experiences as timelines, not dimensions. I would like to clarify let me backtrack. These parallel timelines are basically what we consider to be exact replicas. Not replicas, they are mirror copies of our own reality here. but where there's been subtle changes, where a different change happened, something was altered, et cetera, to therefore change the timeline and split it from 1 into 2 into multiples. Is that correct?
You started typing before you finished, or I did. Started typing the answer. Sure. You might get that.
Okay. Danny, there were known to be varied multiple experiences timelines previously. All are now melded in the continuum, but may not appear to be melded in the Earth sphere perspective because time does not exist. Okay. This is where I want to make sure that we're on exactly the same page, right? Because I think, okay, when you talk about these multiple experiences timelines, are you talking about separate spheres that we talked about before? Example, those 4,000 spheres that apparently have all come back and are all realigning, if you will? No. Okay. These timelines are within this Earth sphere. Okay, we are now referring to your Earth sphere timeline experiences. And those timelines are within this Earth sphere. They occupy the same, if you will, horrible, I fucking hate this language, the same physical space as we do, but in a, if you will, parallel reality, a parallel dimension, a parallel, but they are exact replicas with changes, certain changes here and there. Is that correct? Yes. Awesome. Okay. And I said, when we're dealing with ideas and theories, it's really, really hard to sometimes make sure we have exactly the same, we're on the same page. When you talk about, say, let's say dimensions, as I would talk about dimensions, as in different from this Earth, other dimensions that are not mirrors of this Earth sphere, that are their own distinct reality, would that be classified as independent spheres, independent from the Earth sphere?
Oop, I've got someone at the door. I'm so sorry. Can I stop for a minute?
Go. Pause. I'll pause.
Okay, thanks. I'll be right back. Okay, so you were going back to, let me just jump back to where we were.
Yeah, now I got to refresh.
Okay.
Did you?
I know. I got back to the.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Tell Stan this would be just a lot easier if you just come over and have coffee. I'm just saying.
You know it.
Sit down, have a coffee, shoot the shit, you know. Okay, Danny, the term dimension density refers to the previous levels of frequency and separations, in other words, third density, fourth density. Okay. So and what he considers the spheres are different from that again, correct?
Mm-hmm.
These refer to hierarchical separations. Ah, okay, okay. So therefore, not what he calls the spheres.
Correct.
Separate, but within the spheres. Ah,
right.
Okay. So when we talk about, here on this Earth sphere, when we talk about the astral plane, various levels of, let's say, energetic, for lack of a better word, beings, entities that exist not in the physicality of 3D, but in other, is that what you perceive, what you're describing as dimensional? Existing above and beyond, they do not exist within the 3D, they exist in a higher level dimension. These refer to hierarchical separations, separate but within the spheres. Okay.
This is something I had no idea.
In the case of the Earth sphere, there were 3 levels: physical, astral, and hidden. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so okay, we're gonna. That is another whole tangent. It'll have to be another conversation because I just know hidden is no longer in use, but the astral is, isn't it? Yes. Okay. That could go into another whole fucking conversation that could go right off down the side street, so to speak. So I'm going to bring it back to this. So within the Earth sphere, the astral is also the dream state in some instances, but not always. Yes, exactly. And the meditative state as well. Again, not always, but can be. Correct? Yes. Okay. Yes. So we're totally on board with that. Yes. I know exactly what he's talking about. Okay. Within the Earth sphere, these timelines. Now you said, I'm gonna pull up here because I need to just clarify this. They were known to be varied multiple experiences timelines previously. All are now melded in the continuum, but may not appear to be melded in the Earth sphere perspective because time does not exist. Okay. They are coming together, and this is where we've discussed the concept of fractals, our fractal selves. And the feeling has been for quite a while now of that melding. And melding is actually a really, really good word. That melding of other aspects of ourself returning back into, if you will, ourselves, into a singular, I hate that word. Does that make sense? This is something that we've been talking about this for years now. And
yeah, it's showing me this whole huge visual, but it's like this fast forward movie. So for instance, like I would make a decision, a huge decision, whether to, I don't want to get political, so I have to think carefully what I'm going to say. A decision that would change my life forever. You know, A or B.
Yeah. You go to medical school or you decide to become an actor.
Okay. So then B is played out elsewhere on a parallel timeline, each other. Now that experience played out is done, returns in. It's like this huge, I'm getting this multi-level, multi-layer, multi-dimensional experiences of everything possible for every choice you could have made, but now it's all coming back. Right. And me here in this consciousness chose this experience, and it's going to stay A. It's not because of hierarchy or anything, but it's me experiencing it.
Right.
Even though part of me experienced the other decision.
Okay.
And it played out to the end of it, is what I'm getting in a visual.
Okay.
That's the melding coming back.
Right. Now, one of our first conversations, we talked about the hundreds of Denies, if you will, or the thousands of Denies out there.
Right.
That is not that is not what we're talking about here, because they are the separate spheres. This is where we're getting in our conversation we had yesterday, and we talked about, for example, Atlantis, Lemuria, Andromeda, Orion, Pleiadian, all these spheres, right, could have, I don't know, but I surmise, a Dani replica, etc. there. But that is separate from me. Is that, because that was the piece that was very unclear in that conversation.
He was already starting that.
There are thousands of essences of Dani with one fraction string octave of difference experiencing that experience. Okay, wow, okay. That is within this Earth sphere, within the timelines. What I'm meaning is, for example, a Dani that is in, no, it's not. That is within the sphere civilization. So, in other words, a Dani that's, from the the Atlantis timeline, or the Lemuria, or the Orion, or pick one. I don't know. But that Dani is separate from this Dani. Correct? Okay. Each one of those Danis has a unique name, unique form, maybe avian, Andromeda. Okay. And that's what I wanted to clarify, that we're talking about two very separate ideas. And that is not what we were just discussing here, is not to be confused with like the fractal selves that we have that are kind of being reabsorbed the experiences, or melded, if you will.
Right.
But is only one octave different from your Earth sphere, Dani. Okay.
So what I'm getting is, it's like the Russian nesting dolls on steroids. It's like the Earth's having all of these experiences of coming back together and melding all of these things, timelines, for lack of better words, as well as the 4,000 civilizations are returning back to their original state, or their original frequencies. So it's like
multi-level. It's
multi-level.
In multi-levels. It's not just not just, because that was what I found, is a lot of people, and myself included, from after our first conversation, was thinking about it as a single process, and it's not. It's happening on multi-levels of process.
And now I'm getting, it's not just the Earth having it, and then the sphere civilizations are coming here. Even within those spheres, they experienced those expansions and contractions coming back. So they're already done with that process.
Yes, and that makes sense. Okay. That of course makes sense. So, and I'm going to publish along with this the written conversation you and I had, with that article about the wormhole experiment that was done in the lab that kind of triggered a lot, and it still is. There's a lot more about the magnetics to be revisited, and I'm going to have to, but that's going to be one where I'm going to have to really sit down and try and put my thinking cap back on to analyze everything that I went through yesterday and try to spit it back out in a coherent fashion. I don't know if that's possible.
I gotcha.
The last question I wanted to ask, in this remelding, because everything is frequency, I get it. Everything is energy, everything is frequency. It's not just the consciousness of these beings, the Danis, the Denices, fractals, if you will, that are remelding together. Are we also talking about a planetary remelding? Like the physical planet is changing. Is that because the frequencies of the other, if you will, timelines of Earth are remelding?
Different. It's hard to explain this.
Yes, the Earth sphere is returning to the original frequencies. So, for example, and this is just one right out of the Unfuckers group. There's a whole bunch of us who love stones. I huge love stones. I have stone collections. There were not choice points and divisions into fractals of Earth. Okay.
The Earth itself didn't experience what you and I are experiencing
No.
as a physical entity. Is what he's trying to clarify.
But as fractals, as choices of humanity are made, those choices can also affect the Earth. So therefore, there could be physical changes in the Earth. So what I was just saying is, a bunch of us love stones. They're all of a sudden, I mean, first of all, we have new animals that no one's ever seen or heard of before. And we've talked about it as a Mandela effect type thing of like, you drop down into another layer. Mm-hmm. Yes, choices could effect the Earth. Okay. We're seeing things like stones. Now, I love stones. I've been collecting rocks and stones my entire life. And all of a sudden, we have new stones appearing, like rainbow-colored stones of which I've never seen or heard of before. And did affect the Earth, yes. So when we're seeing these physical differences, planetary-wise, however you want to define that, mm-hmm. New animals appearing that we don't know before, new stones appearing, new insects, I mean, crazy new insects. Is that due to the remelding effect of, I'm going to say, like the bleed through? The appearance of new animals, species, rocks, and minerals are not new at all. They are original and returning into view. Okay, that's really, really interesting. Okay. And I'm going to put it into my own vernacular, and I don't mean this but it's just something that people have been following along in the One People Show we've talked about falling through the layers mm-hmm. of the timelines, is that we keep falling through. You get closer and closer and closer to the original construct. And as you fall through a layer that's closer to the original construct, there's going to be things that you see there or experience there that you've never experienced before because you haven't seen them.
Right.
Would that be kind of a way of putting it? And I get the fact that we're not actually falling through layers, but it's just an analogy. He's
using your terms.
Yeah, I'm just using an analogy that we've used. There are now only 2 layers. Okay. And that's that whole thing of there's the layer we're on, mm-hmm. Earth sphere, and the complete Earth. So we're waiting to just make that complete Earth visible. Oh, do I want to jump into this right now? Because that could just expand the whole conversation again. Okay, I will, just quickly.
Okay.
Other conversations that have been ongoing through different groups, and you know one of the groups, about the planetary magnetics. For example, compasses are no longer really pointing north anymore. The mm-hmm. compasses are, especially in this last 2 weeks, are completely wackadoodle. And it doesn't matter whether you're using a physical compass, whether you're using a GPS on a phone, the magnetics are that all over the place that it's literally now being seen with compasses. As simple as that. I hypothesized a little while ago that the magnetics of the human, or us, let's not say use the word, I hate the word human, the magnetics of us, our heart magnetic fields, as this construct is deconstructing, as it's almost kind of falling apart around us, the magnetics are becoming less powerful, and the magnetics, heart magnetics, are becoming so much more powerful that they're becoming almost like the prime magnetic points. And I know Stan apparently still can't analyze what's going on within the Earth sphere with technology, but does that kind of make sense? That's kind of how I'm seeing, visualizing, and I've been getting visualizations of that. Yes, the heart is known to be the receiver, a receiver transmitter, exactly. But it's now gotten to the point where the planetary magnetics have become so much weaker that our receiver transmitters are now becoming the prime source of the signal source, if you will. We here are also experiencing improved heart magnetics. As these fluctuations are being seen and experienced, and as we discussed it, the last week, it was insane. Hold on, the magnetic fields are now in all highest probability affected, effected by the hearts of all. Yes, and that's exactly what I wanted to clarify with, is as the hearts of all, and I think the magnetic fields affect us physically. They affect us mentally, emotionally, energetically. As our heart fields are becoming stronger, more powerful, there is, I'm kind of feeling like a tug of war that fluctuates, where it's like the planetary, the heart, and they kind of are doing this back and forth until basically the heart wins, is I would assume is our prime goal. Does that make sense? At this moment of now, the heart wins. Well, yeah, we know the heart's going to win, of course.
I would think what he's saying is it's already won.
It's already won.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, because we're seeing a lot of physical people are feeling a lot of physical responses. People are feeling a lot of physical responses that we are well aware of in the geomagnetics. So for example, if there's a geomagnetic storm, people have higher incidence of road rage, suicide, depression, anger. All attempts of all technology to alter magnetics are no longer working. Yes, and I get that. What I'm feeling is that, for example, last week, it was almost like a tug of war. And it was mirrored in the effects that people were physically feeling, the exhaustion. A lot of people were hit with extreme exhaustion last week. Headaches, body aches and pains, digestive problems. And all of these we know are also effects of geomagnetic disturbances. But there were no real major geomagnetic disturbances, solar-wise anyway. So I suspect that those fluctuations, as we are getting used to, that there could be fluctuations that we're experiencing between the two. Almost like a tug of war as we're becoming the prime source of the magnetics. I'm not explaining this really well. It's really, really hard.
I think it's following you in that context. It's immeasurable.
The heart field magnetics will be immeasurable with Earth technology. Yeah, I agree. I don't.
Whereas we can see the solar flares with all of the technology. We can see those geomagnetic fields, but this won't be geomagnetic. It'll be heart magnetic.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Creator.
Hold on. I think that our dog just got locked out now. I'm going to have to go see. Give me a second.
Okay.
Get your butt up here. Go lay down. He heard someone go out the front door, and now he's trying to get out the front door too. No, you don't need to be on my lap. No. Listen, dude. Go lay down. I love you too. No, you don't need to lick my face. Go away. Yes, puppy love.
Of course.
Okay. That's all we're going to get into for now, because like I said, the hard field magnetics will be immeasurable with Earth technology. Yes. And I totally get that. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how the next little while kind of sort of plays out. kind of sort of plays out.
Yeah.
And now I have a dog who wants to jump on my lap. He thinks he's a lap dog, but he's not.
Still beautiful. That's cute.
You're not a lap. Yeah, right. So he just lies down. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Denice. I really
you're welcome.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I wanted to really kind of clarify a few things, and I'm going to publish all that conversation back and forth with the response stand, et cetera, yesterday and our conversation, and we'll go from there.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Talk to
I'll
you
talk to
soon.
you later, sweetie. Go.
Take care.
Go have a good evening.
Oh, I've got to go to work first, and I'll be back. Thanks. Take care.
Bye, love.
All right. Bye-bye.